Okay, so today we're doing graphing inequalities. So the first thing I want you to do at the top of your paper is inequalities are these symbols that I have on the board. That's what inequality means. These two right here, see how they have a line underneath them? Y'all see how they have a line underneath them? When you graph those, you're going to put a solid line. So write that down on your paper. Yours looks a little different, so you're going to have to find the right ones. If it has a line underneath, it's going to be a solid line. So write that down. You're going to make a solid line when you graph it. I'm going to show you what I mean in just a minute. So solid line, if it has the line underneath it. If it's missing the line underneath it, we're actually going to make a dotted line. Okay, two more things that you have to know. Is this a less than or greater than? Less than. Remember, it kind of looks like an L. All right, that's a less than. What kind of symbol is that? Less than or equal to. So both of these are some sort of less than symbols. If I'm less than you, am I below you or above you? Below. Less means below. So for these two, you have to shade below. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. You have to shade below for the two less than ones. So write that down, please. For the two less thans, you have to shade below. Okay, what symbol is this one? Or greater than. And this one is greater than or equal to. So both of those are greater than. If I think I'm greater than you, do I think I'm above you or below you? Above. So this one you shade above. Okay. So number one, we're going to do exactly what we did yesterday. We're going to do exactly what we did yesterday. My starting value is -2 because it doesn't have the what? X. So my starting value is -2. So here's the y. So I go down 2 and put a point, just like I did yesterday. Go down 2 and put a point. In front of the x, I'm going to put a 1, and I'm going to put a 1 underneath it. And that is my slope. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go down 1 and over 1 and put a point. Don't draw your line yet. Don't draw your line yet. Just put the 2 points. Okay. You have to make 2 decisions today on these problems. You have to make 2 decisions. One is you look right here. Does it have a line underneath it? No, that means you have to do a dotted line through the points. Instead of having a solid line, it's just going to be dotted. So that's decision 1. The next thing you have to decide is if I shade above or below. So let's look at this. Is this a greater than or less than? Greater than. It's greater than. Greater than. Greater than gets shaded above. So you just kind of color in above the line. Above the line gets shaded. Number 2, y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 4. Y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 4. Gracie, which one's my starting value? So I go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I put a point. Go up 4 and put a point. Tamara, what do I do with this negative 3? What does that mean to do? Down 3 and over 1. Always put a 1 underneath it. Don't draw your line yet. We have to make a decision. We've got to make a decision. Andrea, is this going to be a dotted or solid line? Solid. It has a line underneath. That's a solid line. That's how I remember it. There's a solid line right there. So I'm going to do a solid line. We also have to make a decision about shading. Daniel's not here. Chuck, is this a less than or greater than? Less than. Very good. Ethan G, where do we shade for less than? Below. Below is underneath. All right, so that's underneath the line. Underneath the line. All right, number 3. Number 3, Allison, what do we have to do first on this one? Good, we got to solve it, so I'm going to draw my line and circle Y. Jacob S., what do you do next? Right here, what do I have to do? Okay, what else? And make it what? Very good. Make it plus 4x. Okay. All right, Ethan H. Do I need to divide by 1? No, you would if it was negative. You would if it was negative, but if it's positive, you don't have to worry about it. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. Okay. Haley, how do I plot this on the graph? What do I start with? What kind of 1? So I put a point at negative 1. Monica, what do I do after I put a point at negative 1? Up 4 and over 1. Because you can always put a 1 underneath a number. You always put a 1. All right, it's decision time. Blake, dotted or solid? What? Chad, do I shade above or below? Good. Why? Did I type it wrong? Okay. Yeah, guys, it's a typo right here. I should have a line underneath it. Sorry. Okay, so that makes it solid. And how do you shade, Chad? Above the line is going to be at the top part. Above the line is the top part. Okay? All right, number 4. Number 4. Tamara, what do I have to do first on 4? What do I have to do first on 4, Tamara? What's going to move? So what do I write right here? Minus 1x. Jacob S., what else do I need to do on this one? Divide by? Very good. You have to divide by a negative if it's there. You have to divide by a negative. Don't forget what happens when you divide by negative. What happens? You switch this sign, it becomes less than. You flip that sign. You flip that sign. Allison, what's 4 divided by -1? -4. Chuck, -1 divided by -1. All right, Blake, what goes on the graph first? Chad, what do I do after -4? And Andrea, dotted or solid? Very good. And Ethan H, do I shade above or below? My sign flipped. What kind of sign is this, Ethan, right here? What kind of sign is that? So you shade below. Shade below. Okay, number 5. Haley, what am I going to do first? Ethan G, what else am I going to do? What else, Ethan? And make it what? Monica, what else am I going to do? Divide by -3. Gracie, what happens when I divide by -3? Very good. You change the sign. Change your sign. Monica, -6 divided by -3. +2. And Ethan G, a positive divided by negative is a negative. So -2/3 x. -2/3 x. All right, Chuck, which one of these goes on the graph first? 2. You always start with the one that doesn't have the x. That's your starting value. Chad, what do I do after I put the 2 on? And Andrea, you had that question last time. I asked somebody else. Haley, dotted or solid? And Andrea, what kind of sign is that? Greater than or less than? So you shade above. Shade above. Okay. Good job. Good job. Keep it up. Ethan H, help me with 6. Good. Gracie, what else am I going to do? Good. Underneath them all. Allison, what happens when I divide by -2? Blake, 4 divided by -2. Jacob Shelton, a positive divided by a negative. Good. Good job. And Tamara, how do I graph that? Then what? Good. Monica, dotted or solid? If it doesn't have the line underneath, it's dotted. And Blake, shade above or below? Okay, number 7. Let me have Ethan G. Help me with this one. What do you do on this one? You put 3 on the Y. 1, 2, 3. And Ethan H, what kind of line is it going to be? Dotted, straight across, or up and down? Good, straight across. But it's dotted, guys. It's dotted. All right, Chuck, is that a less than or a greater than? Good, so you shade below or less than. You shade below. Okay. All right, Chad, tell me about this one. Good. This one goes on the x. Put a point at -2. Put a point at -2 on the x. Haley, what kind of line is that going to be? Solid. Is it going to be straight up and down or side to side? Good. Okay, guys, this one doesn't have an above or below, does it? So you just look which way this arrow is pointing. Which way is that arrow pointing? To the left or right? You just shade whichever way the arrow's pointing on that one because there's no above or below. All right, flip it over. Number 9. Number 9. Blake, what's something you notice right off the bat about this line? It is. It's got a negative slope. Good. Allison, what's something else you notice right off the bat about this line? It's what? It's shaded below. So these are some observations we're making. It's shaded below. It's negative. Ethan H? Well, that goes with shaded below. Joey? What do you mean by that? Yes, so it's shaded below. There's one other thing that you can notice about this graph. Monica got it. It's a solid line. It's a solid line. So, Tamara, what answer choices could we automatically mark out? If it's a solid line, which ones could we mark out? B and D. So these are the two that are solid. On A, it hasn't been solved yet. Everybody look up here real quick. A hasn't been solved. I have to draw my line. And what happens when I move X over there? It becomes negative X. So when you compare these two, which one has the negative slope? A has a negative slope. What kind of, that's a positive 1 and that's a positive 4. Those aren't negative. So A is your answer. Okay. Number 10 and 11 are problems that you have to make a decision on. Okay? They're problems you have to make a decision on. The good decision is to do the work and get the question right and get a good grade. A bad decision is to say, this problem has too much work, I'm not doing it. Okay? You are all capable of doing this problem. It's not hard, it's just long. It's not hard, it's just long. You have to make a decision whether you're going to step up to the plate and do this problem and get it right, or if you're going to say, I would rather just take this class again. Okay? So be conscious of the decision you're making. How we're going to work this problem is we just have to read it, and it tells us exactly what to do. It says 3 times the number of video games, and it tells us what letter. Y. So we put 3Y. So write this down. You have space. 3Y. You keep reading. It tells you exactly what to write down. Plus, so I put a plus sign, 2 times the number of DVDs X. So it says to put 2X. And then this word at most, it's opposite of what you would think. It's opposite of what you would think. At most is actually a less than sign. Less than or equal to. Less than or equal to what number? 60. Okay. All right. You know how to work this. You know how to work it. You've got this. You can do this. So I'm going to draw my line and circle Y. I'm going to draw my line and circle y. Tamara, what moves to the other side?
2.
And what do I do with it? Make it minus 2. And what else do I have to do on this problem? What else do I have to do with the 3? So I think you have space on your papers. It would be y. Does this symbol flip?
No.
Good, doesn't flip. What's 60 divided by 3?
20.
And then that just stays negative 2/3 x. Okay, we're trying to see if this matches the graph. We're trying to see if this matches the graph. So, what does this start at right here?
20.
Does the graph start at 20? Okay. Then it's supposed to go down 2 over 3. Down 2 over 3. Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that less than or greater than?
Less than.
So you would shade how? Did they shade underneath?
Yes.
So A is the answer. All right. Last one, number 11. Which situation is correctly modeled by the graph below? A says the number of pounds of candy corn Y. So I'm going to write Y. Minus, so I'm going to put a minus sign. The number of chocolates X. So I'll put an X. At least is opposite of what you think. Monica, what is at least? Greater than or equal to. Good. Greater than or equal to 6. Okay. All right. Chuck, help me work this one. What's the only thing that needs to move to the other side? And it becomes what? Okay, here's how I'm going to test it. It's supposed to start at 6, does it?
Yeah.
Now that I've worked it, it's supposed to go up 1 or down 1? Up 1. Up 1 and over 1. Does that work? A does not work because it doesn't go up. Okay? All right, for the next one, for B, Andrea, help me write it out. What would I write for this one? The number of pounds of candy corn Y minus the number of chocolates X is at most 6. What would I do for this one? I can hear that. What do I do for at most? Is it less than or greater than? It's opposite of what you would think at first. It's actually less than or equal to 6. Okay. All right, Jacob Sheldon, what do I have to do to work that one? And it becomes what? So we can already see on this one, again, if it starts at 6, does it go up 1 and over 1? It doesn't go up. Our graph does not go up. Okay. Ethan G, help me write out C. What do I do for at least? Very good. Greater than or equal to 6. Okay. All right. Jacob Shelton? Right. Yes, Blake? At least is a greater than symbol. Okay. At least is greater than. Okay, so let's test this one. Does it start at 6? Does it go down? However, that's a greater than. Where do you shade for greater than? Up. Did they shade up? Okay.